morning, students. Welcome back to social class. So, next chapter is Indian rivers and water resources. We have number of rivers in our country. So, some rivers are originated from Himalayas, some originates from Western Ghats and Eastern Ghats. Here you can see this is the area is Himalayan ranges, and here the Western Ghats. Okay, so Indus, Ganga and Brahmaputra originates from Himalayan range, and Godavari, Krishna and Kaveri, and those rivers are originates from Western Ghats. Okay, so about 5% of the total water on the earth is used for domestic purpose. Okay, even large section of population does not have the access to the water. So 40 million hectares of land in India is flood prone. What is the meaning of flood prone? So at the time of rainy season, so 40 million hectares of land flooded with water. So it damages the crops, and same part of the country, and equal large part of the country means more 40 million hectares of land or more than 40 million hectares of the land is also drought prone. So both are not good for agriculture. Drought prone means continuously 3 or 4 years we don't get any rains. There is no rainfall. So that situation is called the drought prone. And 70% of our surface water resources are polluted. So how these are polluted? Because of human activities, because of factories, because of pollution. Okay, so let us discuss the drainage system in India. So the Indian drainage system divided into 3 physiographic units. 3 physiographic units. Those are Himalayas, Peninsular Plateau and Indo-Gangetic Plain. So what are those 3? One is Himalayas, second one is Peninsular Plateau and the Indo-Gangetic Plain. So broadly these drainage system divided into 2 categories. One is Himalayan rivers and the peninsular rivers. Himalayan rivers means the rivers which has originated from Himalayas, those are called Himalayan rivers, and the rivers which are originates from Western Ghats or Eastern Ghats, those are called peninsular rivers. Okay, so the Himalayan rivers. So in Himalayan rivers there are 3 major systems are there. In Himalayan rivers there are 3 major systems. So what are those? Indus, Ganga and Brahmaputra. Indus, Ganga and Brahmaputra. So these 3 rivers originate from Himalayas or same region with a few kilometers distance, with few kilometers of distance of each other, and separated by water divide, separated by mountains and valleys. Okay, so these 3 systems, 3 rivers flow parallel to the main axis of mountains, and then they take a sudden bend towards the south, cutting through the massive mountains chain to reach the North Indian plains. So in this process they have curved out deep V-shaped valleys. This is well exhibited by the Indus and the Brahmaputra rivers. Okay, first these 3 rivers are flow parallel, and later they took sharp bend. Okay, next the Himalayan rivers are perennial. Already you know what is the meaning of perennial. The river which flows throughout the year, which provide water throughout the year without drying up. So those rivers are called perennial rivers. Okay, This is because the rivers are supplied on rainfall as well as the melting snow. So if any river depend on rainfall, that cannot provide water throughout the year. So those are not perennial. Those are called non-perennial. But here the Himalayan rivers flow throughout the year because of melting of snow. Okay, next another one is the Indus System. So the Indus originates in northern slopes of Kailash range in Tibet. So where it is? So it originates in Kailash range in Tibet near Lake Manasa Sarovar. So one of the freshwater lake, Manasa Sarovar is one of the second freshwater lake. First one is in Africa, Victoria Lake is the fresh water lake, largest freshwater lake. Second one is Manasa Sarovar. It flows north-westerly course through Tibet. It enters Indian territory in Jammu and Kashmir. The main tributaries of the Indus in India are Jhelum, Chenab, Ravi, Beas and Sutlej. So these are the tributaries. So what is the meaning of tributary? The canal or small river which is joined with the main river. So that is called the tributary. So small rivers. So those can join with the main river. So here the tributaries of Indus are Jhelum, Chenab, Ravi, Beas and Sutlej. So they cover Jammu and Kashmir, Punjab and Himachal Pradesh state of India. Okay. So these Indus system spread into different states, Jammu and Kashmir, Punjab and Himachal Pradesh. Next, the Ganga system. So already you know about Ganga. So the Ganga water never spoiled. If you store many years also, the water won't be spoiled. The water don't get any fungus and spoiled. Okay. So the Ganga has twin sources. The main source is Gangotri glacier, where it is called the Bhagirathi. So one source is Gangotri glacier. Glacier means big ice. Okay. Next, the other is the Satopnath glacier towards the northwest of Badrinath, where it is called the Alaknanda. So the two rivers join at Devaprayag to form the Ganga river. Previously those are two different rivers, Bhagirathi and Alaknanda. Later these two join at Devaprayag to form the Ganga river that emerges from the hills of Haridwar. So that's why those are very famous visiting places. The Ganga is joined by a large number of tributaries, Kon and Samar. A majority of them originate in the Himalayan ranges, but some of them have their sources in the Peninsular Plateau. So the tributaries, the rivers which are merged with Ganga, some are originate in Himalayan range and some are originated in Peninsular Plateau. Both are joined in Ganga. Okay. Next, another system, the Brahmaputra system. So the Brahmaputra, known as the Sangpo in Tibet. So another name of the Brahmaputra is Sangpo in Tibet. So Brahmaputra rises from the edge of the Chamongdang glacier, at nose or mouth of the Chamongdang glacier of the Kailash range near Manasa Sarovar. So another one also originated in Manasa Sarovar. Okay. Next, this one also same. It flows eastwards through southern Tibet like Ganga Next, near Lhotse Dijon, it opens out into a wide navigable channel for about 640 kilometers. Thereafter, the river breaks through a succession of rapids. It enters in a great loop southwest through Arunachal Pradesh in India. So first the Seng and then as the Dihong. So emerging into the Assam Valley, it is joined by two tributaries, the Dibong and the Lohit. So from here the river is known as the Brahmaputra. So in Himalayan range we have three systems are there: Indus River System, Ganga River System and Brahmaputra River System. All those you have to remember where these are originated and what are the tributaries of these rivers and these in which states these rivers are flowing. Those are more important for bit questions. Next, Indian Peninsula rivers. So Indian Peninsula rivers means the rivers which are originated in Western Ghats. Okay. So and those are merged with Bay of Bengal. Merge in Bay of Bengal. So the Western Ghats are the water divide between the major peninsula rivers, discharging their water in the Bay of Bengal, and as small rivulets joining the Arabian Sea. So most of the major peninsular rivers except Narmada and Tapati. So these are west flowing rivers. Narmada and Tapati are west flowing rivers. Flow from west to east. So major peninsular rivers except Narmada and Tapati flow from west to east. So Narmada and Tapati east to flow east to west. The Chambal, Sindh, Betwa, Ken and Son, originating in the northern part of the peninsula, belong to the Ganga river system. So these are the tributaries of Ganga: Chambal, Sindh, Betwa, Ken and Son. So other major river systems of the peninsular drainage are Mahanandi, Godavari, Krishna and Kaveri. These are originated in Western Ghats. Peninsular rivers are characterized by a fixed course of water. So these flow more in rainy season only. Okay. So these are largely non-perennial flow of water. Okay. Non-perennial means water won't flow throughout the year. So little bit of water may flow in these rivers, but we don't get much water for irrigation and some other purposes. That's why these are called non-perennial rivers. So these are depending on only rains only. Okay. The Godavari is the largest peninsular river system out of these peninsular rivers. So the Godavari is the largest peninsular river system. So the source of this river is at Trayambak near Nasik in Maharashtra. So the Godavari originated at Trayambak near Nasik in Maharashtra and discharges its water into the Bay of Bengal. Bay of Bengal. So these are the peninsular rivers. Next, how we are using this water. So water use. So water flowing out via surface flow and groundwater. So mostly at the time of rainy season, the water flows on the surface of the earth. So some water will be percolate into ground, and that is called the groundwater. Okay, at the time of rainy season, the ground water level is increased. So when we are using the ground level, water level will be decreased. So nowadays the groundwater level is decreasing year by year. But in Hyderabad, because of heavy rains in the month of October, so the ground level is increased more. Okay, and we suffered because of floods also. Okay, of course. Next, some amount of water would flow out of the villages as surface flow through streams. So during the monsoon months, the surface flow would increase substantially. So some portion of the rainfall percolate into the soil and travels into the underground strata and recharges the aquifers. Aquifers means the water which is stored in the between the gaps of rocks and under the ground. Those are called aquifers. So some of it flows into and becomes available for use through well and borewells, and a portion of it goes into very deep aquifers that do not become available. The water which is accumulated deeper into the ground, so we cannot reach to that water and we cannot use away. But most of the water we can bring out through bore wells. Okay. Next, some of the underground water becomes part of flow that eventually appear in streams or rivers. So from the water which is flow from the upper areas, so the water after percolating, so that water flows towards slope areas and it will merge with the streams and rivers. Okay, so how we are using this water, for what purpose we are using this water? Water for agriculture. So most of the water we use for irrigation purpose or agriculture purpose. Water reaches the root zone of the crops either through rainfall or the process of irrigation. Irrigation means through canals. If you provide water, so that is the meaning of irrigation. So most of the areas depending on rainfall, but nowadays we are using bore wells to get water. Okay. There is a capacity of the soil to store moisture. So we have different types of soils: black, red, claymy, some different soils. So some can be hold moisture longer time. If there is excess water, at the time of rainy season, we get excess water. So or floods. So at the time, it cannot percolate into ground. So the water flow very fast. That's why, because of there is no vegetation, because of there is no bonds, so water won't be percolate into, most of the water percolate. So it would damage the roots. If on the other hand, in a drought situation, already we discussed, drought situation means if there is no rains more than 3 or 4 years, that is called the drought situation. If there is not enough moisture in the root zone, the crops will dry up. So both are not good for agriculture. Either more water, either less water. Okay. Next. So water used for domestic purpose and for animals. So usually you use water for drinking, cooking, washing, cleaning, and for animals. Already we discussed 5% of water we are using for domestic purpose. So it is neat plan to provide water or to improve the access to water or availability of water. Okay, so we have to provide water for every person. So in respect of their income or creed or religion or caste. Okay, so who are the citizen of India should have right to get some water. Next, water for individual use. Industrial use. So here there is a competition between domestic use and agriculture use and industrial use. So now after independence, our country is developing as industrial. So water is required for manufacturing processes and this demand often competes with domestic and agriculture uses. So to clean the raw material or to soften some raw material, we use water. To clean the goods also use the water. Okay, so this needs to be taken into account as this conflict is on the increase. So the challenge areas that industrial use face are recycling of water and control of pollution. Because of industrial, the use, most of the water is polluting, so they discharging the polluted water into the streams and rivers. So here water availability depend on the inflow and outflow. So if the inflow is more than the outflow, so the availability of stock is more. Okay, so we often have to keep this distinction between stock and flow clear on our analysis. So if you take one example, imagine a tank that is constantly being filled by an inlet pipe and water is also constantly used by an outlet pipe. So we can measure the inflow as the amount of water liters or minute, and the outflow similarly as the water liters or minutes that flows out. The amount of water in the tank keeps varying, but at any one moment in time. So if the inflow is more and outflow is less, the water level is more. The inflow is less and outflow is more, the water will be availability is less. If the inflow is same and outflow is same, the water will be level will be same. They don't be change. Okay, so that is the meaning of stock of water at the time or in that year. Okay, so most villages in India draw water from wells and tube wells. So they are depend on groundwater storage. These inflow and storage are connected, while some of the water flowing is used directly. One part of this is recharging or replenishing the storage. So sometimes we can use water directly from rivers and canals. Okay, so depending on the ground level water is depending on the inflow and outflow. Okay, inflow and outflow. So if the outflow is more, and if you are using more, the water groundwater level will be decrease. Okay, so like that we are using water for different purposes. So next part of the lesson we will discuss in the next class. Thank you.